calling them granny squares, granny stitches. I'm so glad these are done. Big, big success. Far too challenging for just getting a bloody cardigan on. Yeah. Why is this so complicated? There. It's a wormy little bit of fabric, but... Hi guys, and welcome back to the Emily Knits channel. My name is Emily. I am a knitter and crocheter in my mid-30s, based in the north of Nottinghamshire in the UK, where I live with my husband and our 2 dogs close to Sherwood Forest. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late today. I have a podcast episode for you. I'm a little bit late. I'm filming it on Monday and I'm hoping to get it out for you on Monday as well. I just wasn't feeling up to filming yesterday. I had a Zoom with one of my friends in the morning and I finished it and had a really sore throat. I'm still a little bit under the weather from last week. If you watched last week's video, you'll have seen I was a little bit unwell. And I'm still the tail end of that. So apologies again if my voice is a bit rough, although a lot of you said last week that you couldn't tell. I could hear it when I was editing and I can hear it in my own voice. But as long as you guys can't tell, that's absolutely fine. I've got a normal podcast for you today. I normally try and mix it up, and I know I've done 3 podcasts in a week, in a row, sorry, not in a week. But it will be back to normally scheduled programming next week. So next week will be something a bit different and then we're going to go back into podcasts every couple of weeks. But I thought this week I would update you on podcast things. So we're going to talk through some whips, some finished objects, no acquisitions but some new cast-ons. And yeah, let's get into it. You can find me, before I forget, you can find me on Instagram, email, Ko-fi and Ravelry. If you want to support the podcast, honestly, liking, subscribing, commenting really helps, and thank you so much to those of you that already do that. If you want to support the channel in any other way, Ko-fi, you can buy me a coffee. I don't know if you're supposed to say it Ko-fi or coffee. You can buy me a coffee, you can give a little donation there. I'm so grateful to those of you that have done that in the past, or if you wanted to, I have a Ravelry wish list and you can buy me a pattern off that. I am hoping to get around to making some of those in the not too distant future, because you've bought me a few already, some of you, and I haven't got around to them yet, so I will, I promise. But yeah, let's jump into it. So I've got 2 finished objects to talk about, one of which is what I'm wearing. I feel like I look a little bit hippie today. I'm not 100% certain on this, but yeah, what I'm wearing. I've been fiddling with this, trying to get it to look how I want, because I'm just not sure about it. So let's talk about what I'm wearing. What I am wearing is a new cast-on that I cast on and finished since the last time you saw me. And this is obviously a crochet top. So this is the Franny Granny sweater. Hi guys, just me jumping in during editing to say that I'm about to put up a picture of the Franny Granny on screen, and I need to do a little bit more investigation into this, because I've just noticed that all of the sample photos, for the most part, except the one where it's like a whip photo, her neckline is way higher than mine. So I don't know if I've done something wrong in the pattern, but I don't think I did. I'm just looking at my screen down here, sorry. Yeah, I don't think I did anything wrong. I think I did it right, but her neckline looks way tighter than mine does. So yeah, maybe a bit more investigation needed. Let me just have a quick look at the projects. The projects seem massively varied as well. Some people have a much lower V and others have a much higher neck. So I'm not sure what's happening there. That's maybe just something to bear in mind, because I think I would have liked it better with the tighter neck, and then that would have solved some of the problems that I'm going to talk about later in this. I don't know what the actual name of it is. I'll pop it on screen. It is definitely called the Franny Granny, and it's definitely by Hanjan Crochet, who I think is Hannah Cross. I'll pop that on screen as well. She has a range of Franny Granny patterns. I think there's kids, there's a cardigan, there's a t-shirt maybe, there's a jumper, and I don't know what this one is, because I think there's a jumper and then there's just the Franny Granny, and I think this might just be the Franny Granny. So this is a crocheted granny stitch top. I'm not going to stand up and show you it properly, because I'll be completely honest, I've got jogging bottoms on today rather than jeans, because I spilled some coffee on my jeans this morning and they had to go in the wash. And they're drying. So this is not how I would normally style it, but hopefully by the time I put this up and edit it, I will be able to put some B-roll footage up for you. But let me see if I can sort of, without showing you my lovely unflattering jogging bottom, show you a bit more of this. So this is a top down, I guess, crocheted top. As you can see, the difference with this than something like a hexagon cardigan or something like that is the granny squares give this really nice flattering, stop calling them granny squares, granny stitches, give this, they're done in a V, and they give this really nice flattering V that pulls the eye down, and I do really, really like that. However, I'm a little bit unsure about this overall. The back is exactly the same as the front, there are no short rows in it. And you can see if I come up close, there's some nice little edging there, and there's some edging on the sleeves as well. Let me sit down and talk to you about it a bit more. So I started this for a couple of reasons. We went away, obviously. If you watched last week's video, we were away on holiday in States. We're back now, obviously. And we had, do you know what? I was going to update you guys. We had a little bit of a weird end to the holiday. We actually ended up coming home slightly early, which is the first time we've ever done that. Without going into too much detail, there was some building work at the Airbnb that we hadn't been made aware of before we went. We've stayed at this particular Airbnb before, and the reason we chose to go back was because it was so peaceful. It had beautiful views, which you saw a little bit behind me in the video last time. It was incredibly peaceful, and we loved that. My husband and I are both very definitely introverted people, so peace and quiet is what we look for, really. It's very high up the list of things for us. And we weren't made aware of this building work before we got there. We were aware of it when I filmed on Sunday. By that point, obviously, we'd been able to tell. But when I was filming on Sunday, we didn't yet know how bad that was going to be. We'd arrived quite late on Thursday night, and they'd finished on Thursday night for the day. I think we didn't get there till like 8:30. So they weren't doing any work at that point. And then the next day we went out and spent most of the day out. So by the time we came back, they'd gone, and we didn't hear them very much. And then Saturday, Sunday, they weren't working. So when I filmed, I was talking about how lovely it was, how peaceful it was, and that's what it had been like. And then Monday morning, 9 o'clock, they came back. And Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock, they came back. And Wednesday morning, 9 o'clock, they came back. And yeah, it was just too much in the end. It was Tuesday and Wednesday, we'd intended to have a bit of time around the house, and we couldn't. It was so noisy and so disruptive. There were ladders in front of one of the windows. They were standing outside the kitchen window, smoking and talking and all that sort of stuff. It was loud. There was a big group of people. It was loud. It was very disruptive. So I'm not going to share the Airbnb because I don't want to badmouth that particularly. We ended up getting a little bit of a partial refund from the host because he basically almost admitted in the messages that he hadn't told us because he didn't want us to cancel. And that doesn't sit very well with me. We said, like, you could have made us aware. You know, we might have made alternative arrangements for the dogs because the dogs were very upset by the noise. There was a lot of barking at the noise, which then is even more noise for us to deal with. We could have just made an informed decision, and we weren't able to do that because he chose not to tell us. So after quite a bit of back and forth, because funnily enough, when you mention money, people get a little bit funny, we did get a bit of a partial refund. And then on Thursday, and then on Thursday night, we were due to come back on Friday. No, it was Wednesday night. We were frustrated. We were very frustrated. There was a couple of days when we'd ended up having to go out, like I say, because we'd not intended to. We'd intended to have a couple of days around the cottage, but because of the noise, we felt we had to go out. We didn't feel comfortable being in the property. So Wednesday night, we were frustrated. He'd agreed to this partial refund. Thursday morning, we got up and walked the dogs, and they were being really difficult. I swear they pick up on our moods, and they knew we weren't in a great mood, and they were being really, really difficult. And we just looked at each other, my husband and I, and went, should we go home? Let's just go home. So we came home early. And yeah, we then had a nice weekend at home relaxing. So yeah, not the best end to the holiday, but we did still have a nice break. Just not what we were expecting, maybe a little bit. But anyway, all this to say, when we were there, I realised that I'd intended to bring some crochet with me, partly because I just really enjoy crochet, and secondly because, as I've mentioned a few times before, I have quite a bit of problems with this shoulder. It's quite bad at the moment. It usually is bad when we've been away somewhere because the bed's different and it hurts my shoulder. And being able to switch between knitting and crochet really helps me, because knitting I throw, I'm an English style knitter, so yeah, I throw, I use my right hand to flip the yarn round, whereas crochet I hold the yarn in my left hand, so it's a completely different movement for me. And it engages different muscles, and if it's hurting it, yeah, anyway, so I'd intended to take some crochet. Because we were rushing to go, basically, because I'd just come back from Paris, I completely forgot to take any crochet with us. And I could have done without it, obviously I could, but that was also an excuse to buy some yarn, so we did. And I found some, I was looking at a few different places, and in the end I went to John Lewis in Newcastle, I think. We went to Newcastle for the day, and I was keen that I didn't buy something just for the sake of buying some yarn. I wanted to have a plan in mind with it. So when I was looking around, I remembered that I wanted to make this particular one. This has been on my radar for a little bit. I think the V is really flattering. I think it makes it a bit more modern and flattering than a lot of other crochet clothes look, in my opinion, at least, or on me certainly. And then that was sort of cemented by the fact that this is the East Anglia Yarn Fest 2026 crochet along. So similar to Rhinebeck, I think Rhinebeck's probably the one that did it first. There's the Rhinebeck sweater, and you can make the Rhinebeck sweater, and everybody does, and you join in. East Anglia has a knit and crochet along. There is a knit pattern and a crochet pattern to make sure it's inclusive for everybody, that are chosen through votes on Instagram. And this year, I can't remember what the knit one was, but I wasn't a big fan of it. I just wasn't really interested. But the crochet one that won was the Franny Granny. So that was great. I've wanted to make this for a while. This was on my radar. Let's just make it. So when I was looking for some yarn for something to crochet, this came to my mind because I want to make this anyway. Great, perfect excuse. So let's go do it. So I bought some Sirdar jewel spun. This is all I've got left of it, in the shade Midnight Fjords, I think. So Sirdar jewel spun is a 100% acrylic yarn. I don't know if you can see that. It's almost like roving. And it comes in big, I think they're 200 gram balls. I haven't got them. I thought I'd kept the yarn band, ball band, but I can't see it, so I'll have to pop some information on screen. It's either 150 gram or 250 gram, sorry, either 150 gram or 200 gram balls. You get quite a lot of yardage in those balls. And it's an Aran weight, 100% acrylic, in these colour changing yarns, colour changing colours. So they've got, this one's just the standard jewel spun, which, as you can probably see from this, changes colours quite quickly. And they've got the jewel spun ombre, which is, I mentioned it recently, I think, in my autumn knitting plans, because it's a bit more similar to maybe Noro in that it changes much more slowly in an ombre, as the name might suggest. They didn't have the ombre there, and I didn't really want to make this in an ombre because of the way that you do it. So you start at the neck. You basically make a weird like eye shape. So you're increasing in the middle here. You do some increases on the shoulders as well to make sure it doesn't, so to make sure it sort of sits nicely over your shoulders. But you basically make this big sort of lozenge shape initially, and the points then are what come down your front and down your back. And once you've got to that point, you split for the sleeves and you start squaring off under your arms to make it into a t-shirt. It's a really interesting construction. I really enjoyed doing it. Yeah, but I didn't, and then you come back and you do your sleeves, and I didn't want it to be ombre because I would have had a different colour. So I'd do this and I'd do all the body, and then I'd be further through the ombre when I came back to do the sleeves. So I didn't want to do it that way. So I picked Midnight Fjords and I bought 2 balls of this. So I had, 200 grams of it, 400 grams or 300 grams or whatever it was. And this is all I've got left of my second ball. So I used up everything that I got, basically. This is probably about 10 grams, if that. It's very light. And that's part of the reason it's got a short sleeve. So the pattern very much says you can have it as a t-shirt. You can just stop where you've split for sleeves, put a little bit of edging on. You can do full length sleeves. It's very good to customise. But I decided I was going to do sort of, they're not quite 3/4 length, are they? They're a bit over my my elbow. But I decided that was where I was going to stop, because I was definitely then going to have enough for both sleeves without having to buy another ball, because it would be another £10-11 just to do the ends of my sleeves, basically, and I didn't want to do that. I have, however, some thoughts on this. Part of it is I didn't gauge swatch, my problem. I knew I was going to be slightly off gauge because I think she recommends a worsted weight yarn in the pattern. I bought an Aran weight and a slightly bigger hook, thinking that it would create just a slightly more drapey fabric, which it has. An Aran weight with a 4.5 millimeter hook, I think, would have been an Aran weight yarn with a 4.5 millimeter hook, which is what's recommended in the pattern, I think would have been a bit stiff. So I went up to a 5, and it's only 0.5 millimetre difference, but it was an enjoyable gauged crochet out, which was the main thing that I was wanting. When I actually got the yarn and then I got home and I bought the pattern, I got back to the cottage and I bought the pattern, she recommended an alternative, a DK weight yarn, so I think I probably would have been better with a DK. This is very much kind of a thing of I chose the colours that I liked, and maybe it's not the most wearable thing for me. I feel like a bit hippie. This is absolutely, I'm going to wear this at East Anglia. It's absolutely fine for that, but I don't know how much wear it's going to get otherwise outside of that. So it's not great. And I chose, because I knew I was going to be slightly off gauge, I chose a size down from what was recommended for me in the pattern. So I chose a large, which should have been for about a 41 to 42 inch bust. And the next one up was the XL, which I think was like a 45 to 47 inch bust, maybe something like that. And I'm a 44 inch, so I should really have made the XL. But I decided to make the smaller size because my gauge was probably going to be a bit bigger. However, the problem that I've still got is that I think this is too big. So I don't know if my main frustration is, and I don't really know how you could alter this because of the way you construct it. Basically, my problem is, if I stand up again, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Yeah, you can. Because the yoke comes down so deep, when I lift my arms up, everything comes up and it feels quite restrictive when you're wearing it. It looks lovely. The colours look lovely, especially when I'm standing up like this, but there is so much extra space here. I could have gone down another size and then I wouldn't have had so much of this. But because of the way it's constructed, you basically keep going on. Your V's then create the length, and I haven't looked enough in the pattern to know that, like, if I'd stopped the yoke shorter, if I'd stopped the yoke here, for example, the length of my top would be here. But I could have stopped the yoke there because that's my armpit. So I could have, but it would be way too short on the top. And then how do you add that whilst keeping the V? So I maybe need to look a little bit closer in the pattern to see how you could do that. But yeah, I'm not super happy with that. It's a bit of a weird sensory thing going on that I'm not super happy with. It doesn't feel as flowy and drapey as I wanted it to. And yeah, I'm not 100% sure that the colours are the most flattering on me. Say, perfect for a yarn show. I've just got it with a little black vest on underneath. Perfect for a yarn show. I will wear it for that. But I don't know if I would wear it much otherwise. And I think one of the things I just need to realise is that crochet clothes aren't something I feel super comfortable in. I feel more comfortable in knitted garments. Crochet accessories, I love. Crochet hats, crochet blankets, crochet homewares, but crochet garments, maybe I just need to move away from them a little bit. So yeah, finished, happy with it. Not my most successful finished object, but I think that's more a reflection on my feelings about crocheted garments than a reflection on the pattern. And yeah, I would make it again. I don't know if I'd make it again for myself, but I had such fun crocheting it. So I have genuinely thought about, I could make this to commission. I could make this to order, basically. Because I enjoyed it that much that I would genuinely make this again. It was also massively quick. So I cast on the 13th of October and I finished it on the 18th of October. So 5 days for an entire garment. And actually I was working on other things as well. If I just dedicated worked on this, I would have got it done even quicker. So yeah, a very, very quick garment. And I do think it's lovely. I just don't know if I'm not going to wear this at work. This is not going to be massively flattering at work for me. In black, would it be? Yeah, probably. But also I'm still not convinced that Granny stitch looks super professional to me. And again, this is a mileage may vary thing. You might think it looks great. For me, I'm not sure it's something that I would feel professional in to wear at work. So successful, does what it needs to do. Is it my am I most satisfied with it as a finished object? No, probably not. But yeah, here we are. The next finished object, however, I'm so glad these are done. I'm so glad. I don't know when I cast these on. I could probably go back onto the podcast and see. But they have been the bane of my existence for over a year. And I finally finished, don't mind the ends, finished my husband's gloves. Don't they look mental? Don't they look mental? Ignore the ends. I haven't blocked them and I haven't woven the ends in yet, and I need to use the ends to close up some of the gaps, so I need to do that. But let me just show you. I'm going to give myself massive hands, because last time when I put these on for you on the podcast, I was very aware that my hands looked huge in these for some reason. because these fit me as well as my husband. I've got very big hands for a woman. I finished the gloves for my husband. So these are the very basic Dancing at Lunasa gloves, which is a free pattern on Ravelry by Anne Carol Gilmore, I think. I'm going to take these off because they're really warm. And these were made for my husband. He asked if I could make him some gloves last year to go under his, he's got some waterproof gloves, some sealskins gloves, but they don't keep his hands very warm. They keep his hands dry, but they don't keep his hands very warm. So he asked if I could make him some plain gloves, woolly, to go under his sealskins to keep him warm. And I cast them on last year and I never finished them because I hate knitting gloves. I've discovered I really, really, really hate knitting gloves. So we have now finished them. These are in World of Wool, Fluff. Yeah, World of Wool Fluff Merino 4-ply in the shade Fuzzy Duck. This is just 100% merino. I think it's superwash. Let's have a look. No, I don't think it is because it says do not iron, do not tumble dry, hand wash only. So I don't think it's superwash. It doesn't feel superwash. And it says it's made in Yorkshire as well, so it's quite a nice local yarn. This was very budget friendly, really, really nice. And would make a really nice jumper. I've got this much I've obviously got one entire 50-gram ball left, and I've got all of this of the second 50-gram ball. Excuse that little bit of scrap there. It's not full, but there is quite a considerable amount left, and I've got a sweater quantity in light grey of this, so I think I might make him a colour work jumper with this as the contrast. I'm not sure what yet, haven't decided. But I think that would look nice. And yeah, so these are, it's a nice pattern. It's a nice pattern. It's a very basic pattern. I mean, they are called the very basic Dancing at Lunasa gloves. So, you know, it tells you in the pattern, it's a very basic pattern. It is a one size adults pattern. But the thing with gloves is you can adjust this to how you see fit. You could do it with a bit of a bigger needle and a bit of a bigger yarn, DK weight yarn, if you wanted a bit of a bigger glove overall. Basically what I did was follow the instructions for the cuff and the hand, although I did the cuff longer than it recommends in the pattern because I wanted him to be, he's got long arms, I wanted it to cover his cuffs. And I followed the instructions for the thumb, and then once I got past the thumb, I basically just kept putting them on and measuring, right, okay, I'm going to knit to this point, and then I'm going to start this finger and this finger. And these took me even longer than I expected. So I worked on them a little bit whilst we were away. I'd finished the first glove already, I hadn't finished the second glove. I worked on them a little bit whilst we were away, but not very much, I'll be completely honest. And then when we came back, I just was like, right, first off, I want a finished object. I'm frustrated that I haven't got anything finished for a while. I feel like I'm flitting between projects. I want a finished object. I want to get these done because I want them off my mind. And he would really love them. And it's also starting to get cold here in the UK. I'm sure he said like next week the temperature's supposed to drop. So these would be, it's really good timing to be able to give him these. So I picked up, I think I'd already, whilst we were away, I got to the point where, did I? Got to the point where I was putting thumb stitches on hold, I don't think, on the second sleeve. I can't remember if I'd actually done that. I don't think I had. I'd got to the point where I was ready to put thumb stitches on hold, but I didn't do it whilst we were away. So I was already sort of up here. So I did that, and then I was knitting through all the fingers and stuff, and I'll pop a picture up on screen because it shows it much better. Well, I fixed it now, so I can't show you it. I compared the new glove that I was making. I'd done 3 of the fingers, so I'd done the middle 3. It's really hard to show. They look really strange. I'd done the middle 3 fingers, and I lined them up against each other just to check, because one was feeling a bit more roomy than the other. And I put the new glove behind the old glove, and there was a good, probably ½ an inch on each finger. I'd made the fingers considerably longer. So I was just like, oh, for God's sake. I said something a lot stronger than that. I was not pleased. And he was like, oh, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. And I was looking at him thinking, a little bit, I could say, you know, it'll block out, I'll make it work. This was a considerable difference. And when I was putting them on, I could feel they were a bit tight in places. So I was like, right, okay, these are the ones I'm making feel much better because they've got more room. So I'm just going to finish this glove, and then I'll go back and I'll change the other one to fit it. And that's exactly what I did. So I finished one glove, super happy to finish it all, and then I had to go and unpick all 5 fingers at the end because all of them were better on this one. Unpick all 5 fingers and redo the ends with a little bit more length on them. So yeah, it took me most of yesterday to do. I only finished them yesterday, which is why they've not been washed and blocked yet, because I wanted to be able to show you on the podcast before I start blocking, and I want to do that before I properly weave in ends and snip ends and everything, just in case there's some movement. But they are very, very nearly done. I'm going to finish those last little bits off today, and then they can be blocked, and then you can wear them. I really like the yarn. The pattern's decent, the pattern's basic, but if you've constructed gloves before, you'll know the bits at which you can add extra length and stuff, but it gives you some good numbers and things for what you need for gloves, knowing the cast on and things. So I used 4-ply yarn on 2.75mm DPNs. I also really hate DPNs. That was the other problem with them. And I'm not going to tell you how long they took me, because they took me over a year. But yeah, they're done. I'm so pleased they're done. I'm so pleased to be able to say they're finished. I no longer have to stress about them. So big success. So yeah, that's my other finished object. And then I wanted to talk to you about some updates on things, and a couple of new cast-ons. So first things first, I'm going to I'm going to change into my first other object that I want to show you. It's not quite finished yet, but it's getting there. So I'll do that, and I'll come back and we'll talk about it. Far too challenging for just getting a bloody cardigan on. Okay, this is my White Day cardigan, which is a test for Maya of Maya Tinks. Hey, there's my sexy jogging bottoms for you. Okay, let me come back a little bit so you can see. So this is my White Day cardigan, which is a test for Maya. Don't mind the jogging bottoms. Maya of Maya Tinks, Maya Diglon. And I have made some significant progress on this. So I have finished the first sleeve. Bloody cushion. I finished the first sleeve. Had I finished the button band when I showed you this last time? I think I had. And I'd started the first sleeve, but I finished the first sleeve all the way down to the end. Don't mind the end. And I've started the second one this morning. I also gave it a little mid-project block the other day, because I was a little bit worried about the length of the sleeve and how it was fitting. So this has been blocked, and I'm so happy with how it's blocked out. I don't know if you can see up there, the saddle and everything has just blocked out perfectly flat. It could do with a little bit extra of a steam block at the bottom here. I don't know if you can see, particularly on this side, it's pulling up a little bit. But I think with a steam, that will block out perfectly. And yeah, I'm so happy with this. So I bought some buttons for this. I'll show you those in a sec. But once I'd blocked this and it dried yesterday, and I tried it on, and instantly I was like, oh my God, I have to finish the second sleeve. I can't wait to wear this. This is exactly what I wanted. Let me grab the buttons and come sit down and I'll talk to you about it. Okay, buttons procured. So this is a saddle shoulder construction cardigan for Maya of Maya Tinks. The pattern has options for a tuck stitch detail around the sleeves, but I did do it with the tuck stitch initially, and I just didn't like how that sat on me, and I think that's because I'm doing it extra oversized. So you start with these two saddles at the top, which join in the back. Can I show you that? I think I probably can. The saddles join in the back, so you start here basically, and you knit outwards, and you do one saddle, and you knit this way, and you do the other saddle sitting on the ends. And the really clever thing about this is that all the shaping, usually with a saddle shoulder, you just have a very straight saddle, and then all your shaping's done with short rows in the sleeves and stuff, in the fronts and backs. This one is all done with shaping in the saddle. I don't know if you can see that. Oh God. Yeah, you can sort of see that there. It's not a straight saddle. There's lots of shaping up here, increases and stuff. And it means that then the fronts, you're not doing any short rows or anything in. All of your shaping is in that saddle. And I love how it fits. I love how it fits. I just think I've done it a bit more oversized. So I'm knitting size 6, and I would normally knit size 5 in Maya's patterns. So it is a little bit more oversized than I would normally make. But I kind of wanted that with this. And I'm so happy with how this is looking and how it's fitting. I just wanted like a really oversized, almost like granddad cardigan, and that's exactly what I'm getting. Also, this yarn has blocked so nicely. So I am using Wendy Aran with wool, which is, I think, I haven't got a ball band here. I think it's a 75% acrylic, 25% wool blend, or 80-20 maybe. There are lots of different brands of these on the market. These big balls that comes in like, I think it's 200 grams again. It might actually be 400 grams. You get like I think you get like 800 meters in one of these. So it must be, I think it's 400 grams of Aran weight yarn, acrylic wool blend. And there are a lot of brands that do them. So Stylecraft do one, Wendy does one, I think Hayfield does one. There's a few different ones. James C. Brett does one. I've not tried them all. Stylecraft is good. Hayfield not so good. I didn't like that one very much at all. I ended up destashing it. This one is wonderful. Really, really love this one, and I'm so pleased with how it blocked. I was a little bit worried because it's such a heavy acrylic blend that it wouldn't block great, but it feels quite woolly, and it has behaved more like a wool. When I've blocked it, it's just evened out perfectly. I've got a little bit of extra length in the sleeve, which I wanted, because when I finished the sleeve, I think it was like that. So it was a bit too short, and then with blocking, it just sits there, which is exactly where I wanted it. And it's blocked really nicely. It doesn't feel acrylic-y, it feels woolly. It's a really, really nice blend. I've got another ball of this in the shade Barley, which I'm going to be using for a test net. I'm going to be casting on very shortly, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But yeah, really rate this. It's quite cost effective. It's like £10.79 for a 400 gram ball. And yeah, really like this. This is the colour Pine, and it is a beautiful pine green. The shade Barley is like a beigey colour. It's got quite a lot of nuance in it. So yeah, very, very cost effective. Very highly recommend this yarn. I love it, and I want to work with it more and more. So let me show you the buttons I've got. Whilst we were away, we had a day in York, and I went to Duttons for Buttons. If you are even remotely familiar with Yorkshire, you probably will have heard of Duttons for Buttons, because it's quite the institution. I remember it being there and my nana going into it when I was a kid. I bought the buttons for my wedding dress from there. They were really helpful. They do other stuff other than buttons. They do a little bit of yarn, not a huge selection, but a little bit, and they do quite a lot of haberdashery things. So if you are looking to support a local business for buttons or other things, accoutrements around that, absolutely go check out Duttons. They are wonderful. And I picked up 3 of these to go with it. They're square. They're almost like tortoise shell, but they're paler in the middle. They are a little bit big. If I show you the button band, they are a little bit wide on the button band, but because it's so big and oversized, I don't think it'll be an issue. I think it'll be absolutely fine. So I've got them ready to go. I'm going to end up tipping them out. I've got them ready to go. I'm going to finish this sleeve, and I'm going to put them on, and then it's going to be done. I'm going to block obviously that sleeve as well. But yeah, so excited for this. I was a little bit, not losing steam on it, but I was a bit concerned, I think, as to how it was going to block and if I was going to like it, if it was going to be too big. So once I finished this sleeve, I did that mid-project block, and I'm so happy I did, and I'm so happy with how this is turning out, that the moment it dried, this morning I checked it and it was dry, and I was like, right, back on the needles, I want to do this. And I've done pretty much all of the short row sleeve cap this morning, so I've just got the rest of the sleeve to work, and then it's done. So next time we speak, I'm really hoping I'm wearing this because I'm so excited for it. I'm so excited. So yeah, I'm going to be casting on the Wild cardigan test knit for Lily Kate France. We should be getting the pattern today. And like I say, I'm going to be knitting it in the same yarn, probably the same needles as well. I think it's 4.5 and 5mm needles again. So although I'm not sure because I haven't swatched yet, I haven't done my gauge yet. That's an all over cabled cardigan. I'm so excited to use this again. And I really want to finish this first and then cast on that once I've finished this. So yeah, this won't take me long. Dedicated knitting, I could do this in a couple of days. So I'm very excited to have this finished. This will be coming out, I think, in November, the pattern. And I can already very highly recommend it. I want to make more. I would make one for my mum in a heartbeat. I think she'd love it. And I actually am tempted to make one for her. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, love this. Absolutely love this. I think it's absolutely beautiful. And it feels nice as well. The yarn feels lovely. So yeah, this is my white day. He just wants to leave it on. I can't leave a project with one sleeve on, can I? Let me take it off and we'll talk about the rest. It's actually quite warm in here, so I'm not going to bother putting my Franny Granny back on. So no knitwear now. But yeah, let me show you some other things then. So some updates on some things you've seen before, and then a couple of new cast-ons. So I've been working whilst we've been away on my Lucy cardigan, which is a test knit for the Knit Pearl Girl. And I'm midway through a row. Of course I am. So this is also a test knit. This is for the Knit Pearl Girl, one of my favourite designers. The designer that I have test knit for the most, and that I have knit the most designs from. There are so many of hers that I love. I can very highly recommend their patterns. They're really good for beginners if you are not if you're a relatively beginner knitter, or even if you're just not a super confident knitter Some of her patterns are a little bit more complex, but they're very well written. The patterns are extremely detailed, and I know that's not for everybody. They are quite wordy patterns. I know that's not for everybody. But if you are somebody who is a little bit less confident maybe, or is just a beginner wanting to branch out, she's got cables, she's got lace patterns, she's got texture, she's got some colour work, and they are very, very good. I find them perfectly possible for somebody who's more experienced to, you can skip through the wordy bits and you can find the bits that you need and still follow the pattern absolutely fine. But I also just think a lot of her stuff is really wearable, elevated. They're not basics because there's quite a lot of texture and things like that. They're not just pure basics, although she does have some good basics as well. But they're also not really complex and really overwrought and really hard to wear. I really rate Sophie's patterns, I really do. So let me just finish this so I can show you easier. And there we go. Okay, so I've made some progress since I showed you this last week, but not massive amounts, and it's still hard to show. So this is the Lucy cardigan by the Knit Pearl Girl. That's the back. This is the front. It's on short cables, which makes it quite hard to show. But I am joined in the round, or joined for the body, and I'm working back and forth. I think when I showed you it last time I had like 1/2 inch, and I've now got probably a good 3 inches there. This is really irritating. This is a light bit of one of the balls of yarn that I didn't think was that obvious initially, and as I've gone on to knit more, it's really obvious, isn't it? It also looks way more obvious on camera than it is in person. I was going to say I could somehow, you know, cover it over with something, maybe some duplicate stitch, but it's a lot longer than I thought. Now I'm looking on the screen. I mean, look at that, it goes halfway across. So looking at this, I may have to rip back, which is very irritating. But yeah, otherwise I'm loving this pattern. So this is a top down, I think it's a European shoulder construction. So you start with a back cast on up here, you work some rapid increases to create a trapezoid, and then you knit down the back. You come back up and you pick up from this bit, which is something that this is part of the back, this stockinette piece, and then you pick up and work your fronts. You work some underarm shaping, you join under the arms and you work down. What I love about this pattern is it's got this all over texture pattern, which you can't really see because of the yarn I'm using, but it's got really big wide stockinette details, which I think really this is so hard to see in this yarn. They're really structural and really eye-catching. You cannot see that at all. So there is texture up until this point, and then this bit between the markers is a big wide stockinette panel basically, and it looks like a rib against the texture, and I love that. I really love that. I'm enjoying working on this. The gauge is a little bit tight, I'm finding, and I think it's more my yarn choice than anything else, so it's a little bit slow going, particularly when I'm doing big long rows of pearl. But I can't wait to have this because I think this will be really wearable for me. So I'm keeping plugging away, and I'm using Woolcraft Esteem DK in the shade black. You can see there that's why the texture is not showing up very well. It's almost like a, I don't even know what you'd call it, almost like an ombre yarn. It's weird. It's got almost like a lighter core. And this is made entirely from recycled fibres. So it's 50% recycled acrylic, 30% recycled cotton, 20% recycled polyester, 100 grams, 230 meters, so DK weight yarn. I'm using 4mm needles. Yeah, I'm using 4mm needles to get gauge. And it is creating quite a dense fabric, which is fine because I kind of want this to be a bit more of a dense cardigan. And I've said this every time, the texture is more visible in person. This looks really, you can't see it at all on camera, but in person it is more visible, and it just creates an overall interest without it, so it's not a solid black cardigan. But yeah, I may have to do something about that. Oh, that's so bright, isn't it? I'm gonna try and assess. It doesn't look that bright in person, so I'm gonna try and assess, but I might have to do something about that, and I'll be really irritated if I do, because that's a good inch and a bit back. Really, I should have done it straight away, shouldn't I? But I didn't, clearly, so I'm gonna have to do that, aren't I? Oh well, so that's where we're at with that. I am really enjoying working on it. Like I say, it's just slower going than a lot of my other projects at the moment, so I haven't done much on it. I have done much on it, but it takes a long time to get to that point. MCAL as well, I will touch on briefly. I'm not going to show it this time just because I've just done a couple more scallops. I'm still in the scallop section. So what I'm talking about is Stephen West's Mystery Musicale. I get that name wrong every time. Which is his annual shawl mystery knit along for this year. Clue 3 is now out. I really like Clue 3. I know there's been some, I know my friends are quite split on it. A couple of people really like it, a couple of people really don't. I am in the really like it camp, and I do really want to make it. But I am slow, and I'm particularly slow on the scallops because I really hate knitting them now. I've done 4, I need to do 2 more. I don't want to. But I just need to sit, and now I've done those gloves, I will sit and put some time in, and I'll just dedicate some time. And then after that there's an eyelet section, and then there's the next section that came out last Thursday that looked really interesting to me. So yeah, I'm keen to get onto those sections, definitely. So yeah, we'll push through and we'll get to that point, but I'm not going to show it because I'm just basically showing the same thing again. And then the other thing to show you that I've shown you before is this big beast that I pulled out last night and did some more time on. Once I'd finished my Franny Granny, once I finished my Franny Granny, I decided I wanted a little bit more crochet because I was really enjoying it. So I picked this up to work on, and this is my scrappy, is that the front or the back? That's the back, not that it really matters. This is my big old scrappy granny stripe blanket that's now getting massive that I am making just to use up a load of minis and random scraps of yarn that I've got left. When I picked it up the other night, I was somewhere in this blue stripe, I think. So I added up till the white, and then I picked it up again last night, and I've added these colours. These colours at the end, actually, my husband was sat next to me, and I was like, look, here's the bag, either lucky dip or go and pick, but pick me a colour to go in next. So he actually picked a couple of these. He picked the pink, and he picked the red and yellow there. He wasn't there for the other two, so I picked those myself. But yeah, I quite liked that actually. The rest I'm just completely randomly picking. I'm lucky dipping. And they're all fingering weight hand-dyed yarns. I think they're mostly hand-dyed. There's some that are commercial, but they look like hand-dyed, so I've kept them in there. No self-striping. I took the self-striping out, and they're all merino nylon blends. So it's a sock weight blanket. It is 90 clusters long, 80 clusters long, so it's huge. It's entirely the length of my wingspan, and I probably want it at least 3 times as deep as this. So I've got a long way to go, but I'm very much enjoying it. It's very satisfying and soothing to work on, and I quite like just picking it up and putting a few rows on it on the evening. I'm doing no more than 2 rows in a colour, and I'm using a 3mm hook, and the pattern that I've used to base it on is the Granny Stripe from Attic 24, and then I've just kept going with that. I'm so happy with it. I love it. It's like a massive memory blanket. And I'm really pleased with how it's turning out. It's also very nice and warm. I had it on my knee last night when I was working on it, and it's turning out really, really nicely. So yes, very, very pleased, and we'll continue working on it. Again, like I said last time I showed this, I'm not going to show this all the time because it's basically more rows of Granny Stripe, but every time I've got some significant progress on it like this, I'm going to pick up and show you. I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've got a stitch marker on it, and I think that's where it was last time I showed you, down here. So since last time I showed you, I've done a lot. And actually, I'm going to move that to there. So next time I show you, we know where I was. Yeah. Why is this so complicated? There, put it there. Cool, okay. So stitch marker moved. Next time I show it to you, we'll know where I was. I think I'm on like 72 rows so far. So yeah, got quite a bit more to go. But I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Okay, 2 new cast-ons. One is a gift knit and the other one is a sample knit. So the first one is the sample that I'm going to show you. This is messy. This is a sample, or it's going to be a sample, currently it's not very much at all, for Creative Anarchy Yarns, who is Hannah. She is a dyer based in the south, I think. I'm going to sneeze. Yeah, she's recently started designing, so she's never really designed before. She's a dyer, but she's done a couple of designs recently. She did the Pinetum sweater earlier in the year, which I have the pattern for and I can't wait to make because it's beautiful. And she's just got in testing the rainbow sweater. I think that's what it's called, the rainbow sweater. I applied to test, and I'd also applied to sample knit, and she contacted me and said, would I be interested in sample knitting, but she'd filled my size for the test. No problem. I actually was preferring to sample knit. I just hadn't seen the sample knit application when I applied to test. So yeah, she sent me the yarn, and it's 2 of her hand-dyed yarns. I brought the skeins to show you because they're better in skein form. You can see them easier. Oh, look at that. So that's her logo, which is quite hard to show. Oh my days. That's her logo. And this is the other one. They're beautiful. They're really beautiful. And They're blown yarn. You know how much I love a blown yarn. So this is her, I think it's out now. Either that or it's going to be a new base. It's her alpaca cotton air base. It's a blown yarn. It's, oh, they're different. So this is alpaca cotton air brown, and I think it's just on a darker base, and this is just the normal alpaca cotton air. So this is 51% non-superwash brown baby alpaca, 49% Peruvian Pima cotton. This is the shade Queen of the North, and it's gorgeous. Oh, it's so gorgeous. She's got some really beautiful, her colours are quite moody and dark, and so beautiful. I've got her advent this year. I can't wait for it. It's all based on Grimm's fairy tales. But yeah, it's just beautiful. And this one looks just as stunning in the cake. So I've caked up the other skein, and that's what I've cast on with. And then this one is the colourway Witness Me. Bonus points if you know what film that comes from, because I was smiling like mad when I read that, because it's chrome, it's shiny chrome. Those of you that are not aware, that is from Mad Max Fury Road. So this is the alpaca cotton air base. So this is the same, but it's not brown alpaca. So it's 51% non-superwash baby alpaca, 49% Peruvian cotton. They're both technically sport weight, but she does say because they're blown yarns, they don't really behave like a sport weight. So it's 300 meters per 100 grams. But I'm working on 4.5mm needles and 5mm needles, I think. Yeah, no, sorry, 4 and 4.5 to get gauge, which is like 17 stitches. So this is the ribbing that I've started. I've not got very far into it. This is Queen of the North. It's going to be a folded ribbon. It's so soft. It's so soft. It's going to be a folded ribbon, then it goes into that beautiful colour work, which I'm hoping by this point editing Emily will have put a picture up of so you can see. But yeah, I'm not going to be far off getting into the colour work on this, and yeah, I'm very excited to be doing some colour work, to be doing some large gauge colour work as well, and to be working with blown yarns. I am absolutely planning on, with the store credit from Hannah, getting some of her blown yarns to try myself, to have something in myself, because I just think they're absolutely beautiful and her colours are gorgeous. So yeah, that will be progressing further. Not very far at the moment. And then this one is, I hummed and hawed about showing this because this is a gift knit. So this is, I guess, a public service announcement to my husband. If you don't want to spoil your Christmas present, please stop watching. I know you will likely have kept watching because you don't like surprises, but yeah, if you don't want to, don't watch. So I've cast on a Christmas present for my husband, which currently is just a little rag of fabric that you can't see very well. I've cast on a Gofret raglan for my husband for Christmas. So there is a story behind this. We were talking about sweaters and stuff. Obviously, I'm making him the pheasant cardigan, which I've done nothing on since we last spoke, but I've done his gloves, one thing at once. I've done those, and I've got the yarn for that other cardigan to make him. But we were talking about if I was going to make him something, what would he like? And he was saying he really likes woolly wools. We've discovered that he doesn't particularly like. I mean, saying that cardigan, that next cardigan that I'm making for him is acrylic, and he chose that. But he does really like wool. And he said if I was going to make him another sweater, he'd just want a plain sweater, because I've made him a couple of cable patterns. The pheasant hunt is an intarsia cardigan, so he's got colour work. He said he just wants something plain. So I had cast on with the grey of that fluff DK, this one, 4-ply, sorry. I had cast on a flax, I just wasn't completely sold on it. I've made the flax before for a baby, but I've never made it for an adult. I don't think it has short rows in it. Oh, sorry, it does, but it does after the yoke. And I wasn't hugely sold on it. And I asked him, I said, look, if I was to make you a jumper, would you prefer it in that colour or this colour? And I showed him a light grey. I don't think it was the same light grey. And I've got a cardigan in this over there, this is a tail end of something I've started knitting and didn't work out. But this is Harvest Gold from Woolly Knit, held double. And it's this beautiful cinnamony, browny, goldy colour. I absolutely love this colour. Somebody's described this before. One of my friends has described this before as baby puke, or baby something else. And it is that colour. But I love it, and it really suits me, and it suits him as well. But I said, would you want it in that colour or the grey? And without any hesitation, he said that colour, that colour. So I decided I was going to do that, and I ummed and ahed over patterns for ages. I wanted to buy the There's a pattern by Max the Knitter, I can't remember what it's called. It might be just the So Basic sweater. Max's patterns, I think, are great for men. He is obviously a male designer. His partner is male. He designs with men in mind. Excuse me. They are designed to be unisex, I'm fairly certain. But I think because he designs for his own body, and his own body is a male body, generally what I find when I look at the Ravelry project pages is that the patterns look better on men than they do on women, despite the fact that it's unisex. And I think that's really nice, because normally patterns are unisex, but then they're designed generally by a woman, aren't they? Because it's a very female-dominated hobby generally. So they are unisex, but they fit better on a female body because it's designed for you. Yeah, you get what I mean. I don't think people do it intentionally. I certainly don't think they do. But men's bodies have different dimensions. So yeah, so I was tempted by that, but then I thought, you know what? I'm sure I must have something like this in my Ravelry. It's something like, it's only £7 or £8. It's not a super expensive pattern, but I didn't really want to buy it if I didn't need to. And I went looking through and I came upon the Gaufrette raglan. So I've made one of these for myself before. I should have put it on today, actually. I might wear it next time. I test knit this. This is a design by Celine Phaeton. It is a top-down raglan with a compound yoke, compound increases. And there's 2 different views in the pattern. So I test knit and I knit it in Drops Charisma in the shade. It's very similar to that, actually. It's very similar to that. I can't remember the shade. It might just be called Mustard. But it's very similar to that. And I did view B, I think it is, which has textured sleeves, which are like a waffle stitch, hence the Gaufrette name. And it has a little, like a varsity top kind of thing, a little V there. But she does an option that, I mean, you could include that anyway, but she does an option that's completely stockinette that doesn't have those textures on the sleeves. And I know from experience that Gaufrette is one of the best fitting things I've ever made. The compound raglan shaping makes it such a good fit. And I've seen that on men and women, and it looks great on both. And I think it's because of that compound raglan. And I had the pattern in my library. I had the yarn in my stash. And I just thought, right, rather than buying another pattern, especially a pattern for plain stockinette raglan, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to make this. And that's what I've done. So I've cast on, and I can't remember the size I'm making. I think I'm making like the 3rd size or the 2nd size. It should give him a few inches of positive ease, which is what it's supposed to have. But yeah, currently it is just a rolly little bit of stockinette. But I'm so much enjoying this. I had forgotten how lovely this pattern is. It is quite, one of my friends bought it on my recommendation and found it a bit challenging because it is, again, it's quite a wordy pattern, similar to the Knit Pearl Girls pattern. And I have fallen foul of it already because there was an increase that I'd missed, I think. But yeah, essentially what I'm doing here is I'm shaping the back neck rather than doing short rows. My hair is not helping. Rather than doing short rows, you essentially cast on your back panel and then you start doing increases to pull it round, and then you're going to cast on some around the neck. But I know from experience that Gaufrette is a really, really well-fitting pattern. And I am very much enjoying it, and I just love this yarn. Woolly knit, I think, is one of my favourites. It is very budget friendly, especially the thing that I've used from them most is the 4-ply, and this is what this is. This is 2 strands of their 4-ply British wool held together to make a DK weight. It looks a little bit uneven now, partly because I'm knitting from a previously knitted wormy little bit of fabric, but I have got 2 big cones of this. And I know from experience that it blocks out wonderfully. It blooms, it softens. If you want an 100% wool, this is absolutely fabulous. They also do it in hanks of 200 grams. So the cones, I think, are 400 or 500 grams, and they're like £25 each. But again, you get over 2,000 meters in one of those. It is really cost effective. And the 200 gram hanks, they quite often have them on offer for like £10. So yeah, really cost effective. I would also recommend, they have quite a lot of Black Friday deals and things like that, and Advent deals, so I'd recommend following them on social media. And they quite often do collaborations with YouTubers. They're doing one, I think, at the moment with Lily Kate France, and often there will be a code that you can use to get a discount on their cones, and quite often it's like a 20% discount. So very cost effective. British wool, British based. I've sample knit for them for a couple of times. I really, really like it, and just look at that colour. Oh, I love it so much. And it's woolly, and it's, yeah, he's going to love this. He's going to love this. So I've started now. I know we're in October. I know I didn't need another cast on. But I've started because I know it's going to take me a while. And I'm just plugging away on this, working on this little here and there. I want to just sit and work on this because I'm enjoying it so much. now I'm clearing some stuff off the needles, I can, and I'm going to. But yeah, very happy with this, and I just know he's going to love it. I'm so pleased with it because I know he's going to love it. I know it's going to fit him fantastically because I've made it before. I know the length and stuff to make it to because I know I've made him other stuff. I know he wants the colour. I know it's the fabric that he wants because he wants wool. I'm so happy. I'm so excited to make it. Excuse me. So yeah, this, I don't know how often I'll show this because I know he doesn't watch all of my podcasts, but he does sometimes watch the podcasts. So if I show it intermittently, maybe I reduce the chances of him seeing it. He doesn't love surprises, so it's not the end of the world if he sees it. But yeah, this is going to be one of his Christmas presents this year, so I need to keep going on it and make it and get it done. But yeah, beautiful. I love this yarn so much, and I love this pattern, and it's a wonderful combination, and it's a wonderful designer that I'm so happy to support by showing on here. And yeah, that's what I'm working on. There are other things, like I said, this is not everything. This is basically everything I've worked on, but it's not everything that I've got on the needles at the moment, let's be honest. I am feeling a little bit overwhelmed with everything at the moment, which is where this came from, I think. I didn't want to work on anything that had a deadline last night. I was just like, right, I'm getting my granny stripe. I'm very much enjoying putting some time in on this, but I'm planning over the next couple of weeks to take it a little bit slower and to just try and get some stuff off the needles, to progress that sample, to get I want the white day off the needles. I want that done and off the needles. And I want to get back on with the pheasant hunt a little bit as well, because I think once I sit and put some dedicated time in on that isn't going to take me that long to knit. So I just need to crack on with it. But once the white day's off the needles, I'm going to cast the wild on. So that's my plan this week, is I want to finish the white day. I want to cast on the wild sweater, cardigan, test knit, which I'm really hoping, I'm kind of hoping I'm going to come off filming this and I'm going to have an email with it. And I really want to continue doing this. As the weather's changed, I've really found myself wanting to reach for blankets. And it would be lovely to have this finished and able to do it. So yeah, a little bit of it. It was going to be a quick update this week, but it isn't, is it? It's never a quick update. I can't do a quick update. Next week, I'm going to have a bit of a different video. I don't quite know what that's going to be yet, but we're going to have a bit of a different video. And yeah, that was what I wanted to update you on. So let me know what you've been working on whilst you've been watching. Let me know what gift knitting you're planning on doing this year, if any, because I know not everybody does it, but let me know if you're making anything, particularly anything big this year, and join me. Join me with it. But let me know what you've been working on whilst you've been watching. I love to see and get inspiration from you guys. But yeah, thank you very much for being here with me today. Thank you. With that, all that remains to say is thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have a great afternoon, evening or weekend, whatever it is, wherever you are, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.